I know it's vanity, but I'd like to think that someone will listen to this recording and fully appreciate what I've achieved. I can't publish the results because it would be too dangerous. Although my invention is, and I say this in all modesty, possibly the most marvellous creation in the history of science. It has the potential to cause untold damage. In my lifetime, there have been no major conflicts. The world has been at peace, and I'd like it to stay that way. Let me tell you something about myself. After finishing a doctorate in physics at one of the finest universities in the country, I stayed on to work as a lecturer and a researcher. I was, by my own admission, an average scientist and scholar, but my work as an educator was well regarded, and many of my students went on to have illustrious careers. I believe I might have fared better as a scientist had I shown an interest in a more mainstream topic. As it was, my chosen area of research was the study of time, and in particular time travel. I published many papers on the subject, but my peers treated my work with derision. At best, I was an eccentric. At worst, a charlatan not to be taken seriously. In consequence, I kept a low profile. In due course, I retired, but I kept working on my theories until eventually I made a breakthrough. I created a time machine, or as I call it, a time manipulator. At first, I was only able to travel back a few seconds, but even so the effects were obvious. You see, it's not like the contraptions you read about in books and see in films. The manipulator doesn't transport me through time as such, rather it reverses time itself. It is as though the past becomes the present, and everything, including myself, apart from my memories, reverts to an earlier state. As I refined the manipulator, I was able to extend the range until eventually I could rewind an entire week. 1 second, I would be operating the machine in my study, and the next I'd find myself in exactly the same place I'd been standing 7 days earlier. It was as though I had literally wound back the clock. One day I tripped and sprained my ankle. I used the device to travel back to a time before the accident. I was able to take a different course and avoid the calamity altogether. There is, it seems, no such thing as fate. To test my theories further, I tried another experiment. I have a habit of doing the football pools. I have no affinity for the game, but I enjoy the challenge of studying the form books and attempting to predict the results. Over the years, I've spent a considerable sum of money on the football pools, without much in the way of compensation. I decided, therefore, that I should take the opportunity to win back some of my stake. To aid my memory, I built a voice recorder into the manipulator. It's the one I'm using now. Then one Saturday evening, I taped the match results, and then reset time to the previous Thursday, so that I could post the coupon before the matches were played again. I achieved my aim, and won sufficient to cover my losses. I was pleased, but noted with some consternation that not all the results were the same. Time, it seems, has a fickle element that introduces a certain amount of randomness. Shortly after my win on the pools, my world collapsed. A routine visit to the GP with a headache ultimately resulted in a hospital examination that identified a malignant tumour in my brain. The prognosis was poor. The specialist told me that the growth was inoperable, and he gave me just a few months to live. In the weeks that followed, the headaches got much worse. But in that time, I succeeded in increasing the range of the machine. My work complete, I hesitated for a moment, contemplating the wisdom of what I was about to do, but then I felt another stab of pain and my mind was made up. I might be old, but that does not mean that I don't want to live, and besides, I still have work to do. I set the dial back as far as I could and activated the device. Nearly 70 years melted away, and in an instant I was back in my old university room. I looked in the mirror and saw my 21-year-old self, dressed in cap and gown, holding a fresh, new degree certificate. And I don't mind admitting, I shed a tear or two. I have no intention of living the same life again. So I gathered my things and headed straight for the bookmakers to lay a bet on an accumulator. I already knew the results. So it was cheating, I know. The butterfly of time was kind to me, and history repeated itself. Armed with my winnings, I bought a ticket to America, and as I speak, I'm waiting for my ship to sail. I've been on this wonderful vessel before, but not as a passenger, as a guest, and just a few months before I journeyed back in time. You see, after a long and famous career, this queen of all ocean liners will end her days as a floating hotel, a little jaded perhaps, but just as beautiful in retirement as she is now. I've booked the very same cabin. There's a gap in one of the oak panels behind the bunk, and I'm going to hide the manipulator there because I know it won't be disturbed for a very long time. When you find this recording, the time manipulator will no longer work because I've removed the circuit and thrown it overboard. When I'm older, I'll build another. It's easy when you know how. I would share it, really I would, but as I'm sure you now understand, it is far too dangerous. Just think what it could do in the wrong hands. In America, I plan to work as a physicist. And this time, I would dearly love to find a wife and have a family. But that's enough now. The battery is running low, and I'm running out of time. Before I go, you should know who I am. My name is Henry Harper. It's 6:30 on the 10th of April 1912, and I'm standing on the deck of the RMS Titanic, waiting for her to embark on a maiden voyage. I'm looking forward to the journey and starting my new life in New York.